Is he on?
Ryan?
Yep. Yes, I'm here.
There you
Hello.
are. Holy shit.
Yay.
It's a miracle.
Can I have a chance to
It's
explain,
a
like,
miracle.
why I don't like
It's a
live
miracle.
responses? Can I have that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, sure.
So,
30 minutes of
hold on.
prior research is not available whenever you're doing things live.
well, I actually have been consistent on this in the past. I actually made a video about it more than a year ago, explaining that I think that live debates are not meant to create knowledge about a subject or spread knowledge.
Right.
Rather, it's about talking points.
You
It's
think?
about-
Well, I can agree with you to an extent on that, Ryan. I mean, like if you're watching like a news show, I mean, the
No,
Democrats and the
like,
Republicans are not making very substantive points against each other.
I wish you guys would like at least understand this, because this is what creationists do.
Well, no. Here's what I don't understand, Ryan. I don't understand why you make so many tweets towards me,
wait,
hold on, and towards Jacyln. If you don't want a discussion, don't address me, because I will give you a fucking discussion every time.
Because I don't think this is a discussion. There's no reason for me to believe that.
But you can do it on Twitter?
Yeah,
you can do
what's
it
the
on
difference?
No, you're right. You're the one who doesn't want a fucking discussion, Ryan. All you want to do is stand on your pedestal and preside from on high.
And then you respond to it, right?
Well, what? Okay, how is that any
balance both
different than?
parties.
Look, but if we do it in real
Go
time,
ahead.
if we do it in real time, there's so much more that we can exchange
Right,
quickly and easily.
In real time, you can't think about subjects. You have to do it in real time.
Wait.
Right?
Yeah, you can.
That's
You
not,
can think. I mean, I'm
you
capable
can
of thinking
think
in real
about
time.
subjects, but that's not how we do science. That's not how we do math.
This
That's
isn't
not how we
science
do
or math. This is not science
Right,
or math.
but-
This is fucking discussion. It's a separate fucking area.
I honestly prefer this type of forum because then if somebody says something, you can quickly correct them if it's a flat-out lie or off base or interpreted in the wrong way.
Right, or you can do
Yeah,
a Gish
responsible.
Gallop where you just shout out a bunch of bullshit and no one can ever actually deal with it. Right? This is what happens in creationist circles. And you don't see, like, perhaps there might be a problem in this in other medias.
I think the other media does not allow people to get away with saying anything because you have to be held accountable for everything you say when you say it, and it's
No,
a
you
lot
don't.
harder to lie.
No, you don't. Why
Well,
would
it
you
depends
do
on who.
that?
It depends on who you're having a discussion with.
Right, you
I mean,
have
look
to-
at you. Look at you. Right now, you're using discussion as a tool to make your argument against us. Isn't this
Right,
so
I
much
don't think this is
easier?
very effective, though. I think it's going.
Okay,
to
it's
Go ahead.
okay. No, you go ahead. That's fine.
I just don't think it's a very effective mean. Excuse me. Very effective. Like, I'll do it for you because you guys asked for it. Eventually, right? Eventually, you wore me down, right?
Okay.
But I don't think this is a good way to do it all the time, right? And I just wanted to get that across. That I don't.
But this
think-
isn't.
I don't think you should automatically assume that someone's a coward or they're unafraid. They don't want to have a live debate. Much in the same way that if a scientist says, I don't want to have a debate with a creationist because
Sure.
I believe they're dishonest, then I think it's a reasonable suggestion to say, hey, I don't like debates very much.
Right,
I
but
don't think they're
scientists
very
Scientists also won't engage these creationists in petty Twitter fights.
Right, exactly. That's my problem with.
It's not a petty Twitter
Okay,
fight,
no,
right?
hold on. Let's just get rid of the characterization of it as petty. But here, let me just explain things from my perspective for a second, Ryan.
Right. Can I at
Hold
least
on.
explain the power dynamic? Right. You
No,
guys
hold on.
have much
I will.
bigger audience
I
than
promise.
have.
I promise. I will
Okay,
let
I'll
you
let
explain the power dynamic. I will let you explain it. Just give me 1 second. My problem is that you perpetually respond to me, and you perpetually throw questions at me, and you make arguments towards me, but then you act like you don't want to debate every time I try to invite you on the show.
I think the problem is you're thinking of that I'm actually directly addressing you with those tweets. The
Right.
idea is I'm trying to actually create this counter argument to what you're suggesting. Right.
Right. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that you don't. It seems you
Right,
want to
and I
make this
think
counter
that's
argument,
that.
but you don't
So-
want a counter argument to the counter argument. Now, hold on. Now, why don't
I
you?
think it's fine. I think you guys can always make a video and say Ryan is wrong, right?
Right,
I don't
sure.
I don't have that same capacity with your audience, right? Everyone in my audience is going to see what you're saying. It's not the same for your audience, right?
True.
Not everyone in your audience is going to understand the direct context of what I'm saying.
Sure.
So I think it's completely fair for me to directly live respond in tweets. Like I don't think it's that.
But do you understand how asking for a video every time
I
you
don't
have
want a
communication
video.
with something
But can
is
I
a little
care-
bit
I don't
ridiculous?
care if you guys respond to me.
Sure.
I really don't. That's a mischaracterization, right? I'm responding to your points. If you want to respond to my points, great. that's awesome. But if you don't want to, I don't care either way. The point is that I want to spread the notion that perhaps what you're saying is wrong. That's it. And
Sure.
there are you guys are not above criticism. That's
No, I agree. We're not above criticism, but we're also not beneath defending ourselves from criticism either.
I think you
No
guys.
one, hey, Ryan, no one has ever said that we're above criticism. I welcome criticism. If I hadn't welcomed criticism, I would still be a Christian.
Have you seen some of the responses? Like some of the responses I get to the arguments I make.
Ryan, the thing is, you wonder why I categorize you into the attention-seeking group. It's because of the way. So let me finish. Let me finish. It's because of the way. Let me. Okay, you can keep talking over me. That's fine. We can just keep talking and talking and talking, and no one can make a point.
Stop suggesting I want attention. Period.
If you don't want me to suggest you want attention, then don't use attention-seeking behavior. The titles of your videos and the aggressive nature of your communication is in a way that resembles a troll.
The joke is
it's not a joke. All your videos are
I actually explain this, and I explain this. The reason I call it the hate train hour is because a lot of people feel that whenever you want to get views too, Jacyln. Don't pretend you're above.
Well, but we admit that, though. You're the one who seems to be in denial about it. You're saying you don't want popularity, but you say you want to counter our narrative.
Right?
You say that your objective is to counter our narrative. Well, how can you counter our narrative if you don't match our popularity? You are the one who's sitting here bitterly talking to me about the power dynamics. Well, you know what? You can have the way you get more supposed power. I don't consider what I have to be power just because I have a fucking audience.
Yeah, he's not one of the X-Men, definitely.
But I mean the way you. Right,
I
understand. Okay, you're doing it for a higher purpose. You're doing it so that you can counter the narrative.
Benevolent. Ryan, you're so benevolent.
God damn it.
You're so benevolent.
Okay,
yeah, sure.
Here's the point, right? I think you have this narrative, right, that the only way to critique your guys, or to critique anyone who's popular, is for one person to become popular and take them out. But that's not at least the spirit behind, like, keeping atheists accountable. Like, I don't think it should just be me. I think a lot of people should do it. So when you're suggesting that I'm doing this to become popular, you're kind of missing the point, right? I want more people to understand that perhaps something's going wrong. Perhaps
maybe you should consider addressing things in a different way, because the way that you're doing it right now is very much resembling of a lightning rod. Like,
it's
you
very
are not
aggressive.
Trying to have a conversation.
Yeah,
you are trying to attack.
So we can move into the First Amendment, right? When you suggest things like my interpretation of the First Amendment is equal to someone else's interpretation, you're missing, like, basic constitutional law.
Mm-hmm. Teach us, Ryan. Teach us. We didn't do our half hour of research.
Do I really have to explain how the judicial branch works? Like, you
go ahead. Oh God, Ryan, please. I never learned this in the 11th grade.
So at the same time, you can't consider me both condescending, and then
This is Ben. I'm very condescending, but go ahead. Explain it to me. Teach me.
Is this real? Like, you don't understand that the Supreme Court...
I'm being sarcastic. I do understand.
But then why would you suggest things like, oh, Thomas Jefferson said this about the Constitution, therefore we should do this?
No. Look, see, where you're confused is I'm saying that what Thomas Jefferson said laid down a certain philosophical framework wherein the Constitution and the Bill of Rights should be able to be amended. And look, I understand that you and I disagree about how that should take place. I think the founding fathers were actually mistaken.
It's a matter of law.
No, I agree. I agree with your interpretation of how the law is now. I don't even disagree. No, I know. Look, fine. I agree. I'm not. All right, fine. It's not interpretation. You're right. You're absolutely right. What I'm saying is the way that it is wrong. I'm criticizing the existing system. Okay? And I am advocating for change.
Right. But where does your change come in? Do you want an amendment to the Constitution?
I don't know what I want. I either want
So that's the problem, right? That's
No. I understand. I have an objective in my mind. I don't necessarily know the means by which that objective could be achieved, and I'm not claiming to. I am just advocating for certain reinterpretations of how our rights and protections should be in an era that's drastically different than the.
But you have to understand, how's that going to happen, right? Because I don't have a clear answer from you. Do you want to change the Constitution? Should Congress change that? Should the Supreme Court have a new ruling suggesting the First?
Any of those would be fine with me.
Well, if you're going to Congress, there are problems because that's not how the Supreme Court has interpreted the First Amendment. Not even close to what you. If you believe the Supreme Court, well, there's problems with precedent. Again, it's not even close to what the Supreme Court believes.
Right.
So your only option is amending the Constitution.
Right.
One, good luck with that, and two, it would be crazy.
But here's the thing. I never.
Of what you're suggesting.
No. I never recall saying that this was likely to happen. All I said was that I advocate for that change.
What you're advocating.
Okay. Well, what are the consequences?
Consequences of what you're advocating. If you believe that the First Amendment should just expand and protect you on YouTube, would mean that. First off, that YouTube couldn't establish any type of terms of service. Like, they couldn't kick people off their website. It would mean that you would have to allow someone like me to go on your channel and make videos. That's the consequences of that.
Well, not necessarily on my channel.
No. It would have to be on your channel, right? If you have a private channel, you own it, and if you believe the First Amendment should just expand like that, that's the natural consequence. Like, that's what's going to happen if you use the Constitution.
I don't really think that is a natural consequence. I think there's
natural consequence.
No, I think there's ways that could be. I think there's definitely ways that could be negated. I don't agree with that interpretation. That's not what I advocate.
Okay,
now you
so
can.
How would you write it,
You're making a. You're basically applying a slippery slope fallacy to this, where you're basically saying that if we have.
And they can't establish First Amendment rights on their brand, right? It would have to expand and allow anyone in. What's keeping me from going to the Supreme Court saying, I believe I should be able to post on the Amazing Atheist channel?
Because the basis... It's because I'm not saying that just any private corporation has to just
it's on a private communication network. No one can stop me.
Well, no, because my channel is not a communication network.
It's part of a communication network.
Well, it's part of it. But everyone has the right to create their own channel so that they can put their own speech out there.
How would you write that, TJ?
I don't know how I'd write it. I'm not a fucking lawyer.
So then don't talk about it.
What do you mean don't talk about it? So you're telling me that anything that you believe, you can explain down to the gnat's ass every single aspect of how it should work and be implemented. Are you really making that statement? Because I don't think anyone has knowledge that's that all-encompassing.
Here's the point I'm making, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the only way you can change this, and if it's so far away from current existing law that you would have to not only change the Constitution, but change the Constitution in a completely radical way,
right?
Then you have to have some way to change it, and you'd have to understand the consequences of that such a type of amendment. That's the point, right? I don't think you understand the consequences of such an amendment.
There's always going to be consequences. There's consequences to any action. Everyone knows that.
One thing
but you can't. No one. You're basically saying I can't. That my interpretation is invalid because I can't explain every aspect of how it works.
No, I can't. And I can't
wait. And I can't with 100. I can't with 100% accuracy tell you everything that's going to come as a consequence to it. So I'm not a prophet. I don't know the future. You seem to think you are.
Here's what I'm asking for, right? Give me at least some idea about the amendment. At least make me understand how you can create. You don't even have to be specific, but just give me some ideas as to how you can create a constitutional amendment to the Constitution. Or sorry, not a constitutional amendment. An amendment to the Constitution. So that it would keep YouTube from taking down your videos and keeping other individuals from essentially going to the Supreme Court and suggesting that they should be able to put content on your channel. And beyond this, understand how the ramifications of allowing any content on YouTube would drastically alter our society, because there'd be no such thing as copyright claims. It would be so drastically different and so counter to the idea of private property and the right to establish yourself that the consequences would be catastrophic.
You know,
that's
look, I can kind of see what you're saying now. But I think that we have to reinterpret how we view things like intellectual property. I think that we already see that line breaking down. It's been breaking down ever since Napster hit the scene. And now, you know, people feel like they're entitled to media, that media should be absolutely free to them at all times. And they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to watch ads. They don't want it monetized at all. They just want it. And that's the attitude that people are having. And I think that it makes sense for the culture to be responsive to that. And the criteria that I would set up to prevent someone from taking over my channel in what I'm proposing is you base it on the size. YouTube is huge. There's billions and billions of users.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you a question, Ryan.
Right.
Let's just say, for example, instead of it being a majority Christian population in America, let's say it was majority like atheist or something, for example. And let's say Google decided to ban any searches related to Christianity. How would you feel about that?
So you're confusing two different things.
No, I'm just asking you, how would you feel about that?
How would I feel about it?
Does Google have the right? Does Google have the right to censor the information that you can find?
I just feel like there's a pretense of this question. As in, there's a big difference between what I personally dislike and what is constitutional. For example, I'm not the biggest fan of "In God We Trust" on our currency, but there have been Supreme Court decisions that have said "In God We Trust" is absolutely constitutional. So to answer your question, would I be okay if Google banned all searches on Christianity? Probably not. But I mean, there are a lot of things that I don't like that are constitutional.
Hey,
right?
Ryan,
I'm not the biggest fan of guns, but right, you have a Second Amendment right to own firearms.
But there are limitations on that.
Ryan, one thing I wanted to ask you is, you said that you are a proponent of feminism. So how do you defend your claim that Jacyln is only popular because she's an attractive girl?
Right. Well, that's not my position.
Wait, no. He's saying only popular, not to be confused with popular.
No, okay. So can I explain the argument? I don't think it's that radical, either, right?
Okay.
I personally, I find it strange that all of a sudden, right, Jacyln's being promoted by a number of big atheists, and there's something to be said that currently a lot of the very popular individuals on the circuit are older white men, and I think they can solve that problem by promoting a woman, right? By promoting a younger woman. So perhaps they don't look as, you know, xenophobic or maybe just intolerant or even sexist. Like, yeah. Right. So the assertion seems to be that, oh, you're a feminist. How could you ever dare believe that someone might have gained something by being attractive? Right. I don't blame Jacyln for being attractive.
What were the words?
Point.
Okay, hold on, wait. What were the words that he used in that video? Because I feel like
God damn it, Jacyln. I'm explaining my position.
Oh,
right?
God damn it. You're God damn it. Okay.
He's mad.
No, I'm trying to ask.
God damn it! Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Like,
see, it's fine because the thing is if you had worded it in such a way that was very rational and really.
Like,
I'm talking to you about.
Advice? Like,
will you change the subject? Will you change the subject? That's not how you worded it whenever you said it.
I'm just asking all of us to have the same standard when it comes to this. Right?
So,
perhaps I'm wrong,
but
right?
Look, don't you see though? Like, I mean, if as like from the feminist perspective, right? If you basically say of Jacyln, if you just have this purely conjectural stance that that's the reason for her popularity, then don't you see how that?
Really true. I don't think Jacyln's completely popular because of her.
Okay, well that's fine. But I mean, even if you put that out there, doesn't that just kind of invalidate the success of any woman who's attractive who makes it in anything?
No. I think it says even more. I think it says something about the people within our community, right? That perhaps if someone can become so popular, having any type of expertise, or I don't know, at least in my opinion, not having a good grasp on all the things they talk about, that perhaps it says something, the things we care about, that perhaps our community cares more about attractiveness and having solid arguments.
Right, and that in and of itself is not something that you would find insulting if said to you.
I don't think it's that insulting. I'm not even insulting you. I'm insulting.
Okay.
I'm insulting. I don't understand. Like, can you please like at least explain to me why you find it insulting?
Well, is it kind of like if you say like black people can run fast or something like that?
I don't think it's like that.
No,
right?
You don't think so?
No. Here's what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
That if there are a number of individuals that don't care as much about, I don't know, intellectualism and care more about attractiveness, perhaps that says something about how we view women within our own movement.
And why is it that I fit that criteria?
Because I don't think you know everything about you talk about.
No.
I don't think you know a lot about Islam. I don't think you know a lot about feminism. I don't think you know a lot about mental illness.
Okay, so then why don't you say that in your videos? Why even feel the need to mention my gender? If you made videos and approach them with the issues that you have with the words that I'm saying and the
Jacyln,
topics,
you haven't
then
seen my
fine.
videos. You've seen the misrepresentation that has been in the Drunken Peasants. Like, you've admitted it. You haven't
She
seen
has
the full
watched your
context of any of it.
videos. We play your videos unedited,
I
dude.
watched this only.
We play your videos unedited, dude.
We just played some of them.
We play your videos without even editing them. We play all 10 minutes of your
They're-
boring ass
they're-
video.
In all fairness, that one video was edited.
Yeah.
It was the montage.
That's
Sure.
Like,
Right.
Of course, if you keep watching videos where you don't see the entire context, it's really easy to misrepresent.
Ryan. Okay, imagine this situation. Imagine I went to medical school, and in my class, we had very few people of other ethnicities. There were a couple of people in our class that, potentially applied through a program that gave preference to a minority because not enough of them were being represented in medical schools. How do you think they would feel if I went up to them and was like, man, you're smart, but you do know a big reason of why you're here is because you're black, right? You don't think they would take offense to that, even if it may be true? That's totally discrediting their intelligence.
I would think that's offensive, but I don't think that's the same style
That's
of my
what
argument.
you're doing.
I don't think that's what I'm doing.
I don't care what you think. That is what you're doing.
Oh, man.
So here's the point, right? One, I don't have full faith that you've seen the full context of what I've said.
Mm-hmm.
So, right from the start, there's no.
Based off of the conversation
Well,
that we
the
had,
problem with that is anybody can say that. I mean, that you can say that about anyone's argument at any time. Is you don't understand the entire context.
Right, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Because there's always going to be a larger
so-
context than anyone can really, hold in their head at any given time.
I talked about debating. I think that's a problem of like the video style, right? That perhaps if you make your videos so short, that sometimes you can say things that are wrong or say things that perhaps don't come out the great.
You know what,
Ryan,
Ryan?
But Ryan, you make 10-minute videos and we make like 3-hour videos.
Right, and the thing is too. I think that
so there is one difference.
Your point about
what's the difference?
Okay,
we didn't do 30 minutes of research.
No, I whatever. All right.
Oh,
so
okay.
here's the difference, right? You're doing a live stream of the video.
Yeah.
Right? You're directly responding to it.
Yeah,
and
we
you're
don't
not
get to
actually-
edit out anything that we say. you know?
right. We don't.
Right, okay. So the point is you're actively engaging that all the time. I think you can attack me for not preparing well enough. Which is why I attack your videos, right?
But hold
I
on.
think that goes both ways.
Hold on, though. Look. Honestly, I think that you're probably defending yourself better here than you've ever defended yourself
Yes,
on Twitter.
On Twitter.
I think your point about not wanting to come on the show is totally invalid because you've actually been able to express. You've been able to express your views so much better here. Don't you see how much easier it is when you can actually respond to what we're saying in real time? I'm just saying, like. Why were you so afraid to come on the show? You can say, okay, I'm sorry, not afraid, but why? What was the objection there, really? Is it really that bad? I think you're getting points across somewhat. I don't agree with everything you're saying. You probably don't agree with much of what I'm saying, but at least you're able to actually advocate for your position now. Isn't that so much nicer? Isn't that so much nicer than just tweeting from the shadows constantly?
So here's the point, right? We live in a world where we don't know what's going to happen. Like,
right.
I would say you were more fair than I thought you would be, right? I think that's fair, but we also set a precedent in our actions. Personally, I don't believe that scientists should be debating creationists, or we should debate on positions where we have some type of back and forth debate where we don't actually take long times to think about what we actually believe. So that's why.
The thing is, though,
that was my objection. And I didn't
right,
say
but
that.
the problem with that analogy is that a scientist has verifiable empirical evidence. You saying Jacyln doesn't understand Islam, that's just your opinion. That's just your interpretation. That's subjective. So I think that does merit debate. I think that does merit discussion.
I wouldn't say it's entirely subjective.
Okay,
well, I think in many ways the
so you believe that you can
not understand Islam. Is
you can.
subjective.
All right. Well, give me an example of a way that Jacyln doesn't understand Islam.
Yeah, I'd like to hear this.
Don't bring fucking get that. No, don't bring G-Man in here.
Look, right? I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Oh,
That's why I
God.
don't like live debates, right?
All right.
And get specific examples, right? You don't have an infinite amount of knowledge in your head.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, is there can you give me an example of any of the specific examples of something that Jacyln or I have said? Well, you've already kind of went over it with me in the First Amendment. We've kind of discussed that already. But there was other instances where you said Jacyln was ignorant. Like you said she was ignorant about feminism. Can you give us a demonstration about that?
So at the same time, you're both suggesting that you're not a feminist, yet you're believing in clearly feministic ideologies. Almost verbatim, right? You can't make the statement, I'm not a feminist, but I believe in women's rights. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does make sense because I can say that in the same sense as me saying I'm an atheist, but I don't want to also identify as anti-Christian, anti-Islam, anti-Buddhist, anti-everything.
Because the purpose.
Pointless. The point is by saying feminism, you're excluding a gender.
No. You don't know the history of feminism.
I don't give a shit about
suggesting you're not a feminist, but I'm a humanist is an incredibly ignorant statement.
If you
because
watch the video,
humanism is a completely distinct ideology.
Exactly, and I said that in my video called "I'm a Radical
Then
Feminist."
Why would you call yourself "I'm not a feminist, but I'm a humanist"? If you understand the things, then why are you saying them?
Did you watch my video? Because listen, I said in my video that technically, if you look at the definition of a feminist,
No.
Everyone, let me finish, okay? If you look at the definition of feminist, I would classify as a feminist, and I admitted that willingly in my video.
Okay, so
I said it let me finish. I said it more than once in my video, and then I went on to explain why I don't like using that word and why I don't. There are a lot of people who are atheists, they don't believe in God, but they don't identify as an atheist, and as much as I don't really like it, I understand their reasons for doing so, and if you watch my video, you would also.
So here's the problem I have, right, with that statement. At the same time, you're suggesting that people need to call themselves atheists, even though they might want to call themselves agnostics. And then on the other side, you're saying, I believe everything that feminism believes, but I'm not a feminist. Like, I don't know how you can hold those two positions.
Okay, fine.
You can't just say, I explained it, right?
I will explain it again. I will explain it again, okay? In the video, I said I was a feminist. If you look at the definition of the word, I would qualify as a feminist, as would TJ, as would any.
Why do you expect people not to call themselves agnostics?
Let me finish. Well, great. I was going to get to that point if you let me finish.
Can I finish?
Agnosticism is not anything in reference to belief. The word agnostic is a position of knowledge. Saying you're agnostic is admitting that you don't know. I am an atheist, yet I am agnostic because I cannot know for sure or prove anything definitively. As many Christians will also claim to be agnostic theists. They are not mutually exclusive terms. So whenever you say that you're agnostic, it tells me absolutely nothing about your position of belief. That is where the word atheist comes in. Using the word atheist is different than the word feminist because atheism is not excluding a group of people. Everyone who doesn't believe in God can fall under the category of being. Anybody who doesn't believe in God can fall under the category of being an atheist. When you say that you're a feminist, that is excluding men. Why sit there and say?
No, it is not.
Why sit there and say that you're a feminist and a men's rights? Why sit there and say?
I guess if you get to talk as long as you want, you can just talk over me forever. Can I at least address some of your points as you explain them? Right? You're suggesting that feminism is exclusionary. It is not. Right? We live in a society where females are the non-privileged category, right? They are the non-privileged. How can you possibly believe that? Do you know what's happening in my state? There's a bill for an 8-week abortion ban. I want you to think about that.
I understand that there are issues with
No,
women's
no, no,
rights.
no. Women are disproportionately disadvantaged in our society because there are certain attacks made to make it so women cannot live on an equal footing as men, right? It's happening in the United States. Hobby Lobby is happening. Attacks on women's rights are happening, right? Equal pay is not happening. It's not the same. It's not, equal pay is not happening. 70, it's like what, 70 cents to a man, right?
Yeah, but if you look at all the factors,
look
at all the factors, that women work less, women take maternity leave. There are a lot of factors that work into that statistic.
If you look at econometrics,
maybe if you did your 30 minutes of research before, you would know that.
Hey, this is my field. If I've looked at econometric studies, it's 95% to 100%, controlling for everything.
70? Why did you just say 70?
Why? Because that's the actual gap right now. Women earn 77% to men. There's an econometric.
Your numbers keep changing. 70, 77, 95.
The numbers change because we're talking about two different things, right? If we just look at men and women, women earn 77 cents to a man.
But that is not fair whenever you take into consideration the amount of time worked and the ambition of women. Men go ahead.
Ben wants to interject something.
No, I just wanted one at a time to talk. Go ahead, Jacyln, and then Ryan respond when Jacqueline's done.
I'm just saying, it seems as though your usage of the 70% is manipulative, knowing full well that there are reasons for that number being the way that it is. Then you switch to 95. If you believed technically that it was 95 to 100, you should have said that to begin with, because otherwise it makes it look like you're trying to win an argument without being totally honest and transparent.
So, let me explain why I use two different numbers, right? The 95% controls for everything. The reason why that's unfair.
So why would you use that to begin with?
Please, can I explain? Right. This is
quiet for a second, Jacyln.
So the reason why the 77 to 100 might be interesting is because there have been studies that showed that if you take the same resume, you put a man's name, you put a woman, change nothing, men will be called back more. So there's this additional problem where women are getting less access to opportunities. That's why you have to compare.
Except for, of course, of me. I'm getting all these extra opportunities because I happen to be a woman, right? Let's not forget that.
I think it's completely fair for you to take advantage of those opportunities.
Oh, but then you
Did I say the opposite?
But the way that you use it, come on, be honest. The way that you used that was a jab at me. Don't try to lie and weasel your way out of it.
I'm trying to understand why things happen.
The Jacyln Glenn hate video. Gee, for Christ's sake, at least admit to that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Again, do I have to explain? Like, the point of the Hate Train Hour is to illuminate this fact that whenever you criticize someone who's popular, they think that you're just a hater. By saying, "Oh, it's just the Hate Train Hour, therefore you're a hater."
Listen, there is such a thing.
It'd be like if you called a video "fuck niggers" and then inside the video it was like, I'm a totally non-racist message, but like, I don't understand why people are confused. If you actually watch the video, you'll see I'm saying the opposite. So
let me give you an example of something I think is really important. Right? When Stephen Colbert did that bit on the Washington Redskins.
Right, the Redskins.
There were a number of people that thought he was totally racist. Sometimes you can use like a turn of phrase or use language to try and prove a point. Right.
So how do you feel about the Redskins, Ryan? Do you think they should be called the Redskins?
I do not.
Okay.
I agree with that, actually.
That's very relevant.
Okay.
No, it's not. It was just an aside.
Yeah.
We're sorry. We're not all. We don't always stick strictly to topic.
Yes.
So, I mean, let's just on this feminism thing. Like, I don't understand why feminism wants to be this ideology that can basically tell people that they're a feminist. Like, oh, well, you agree with everything you're saying, so just join us. It just makes sense to join us. It's like, no, I don't like everything that you do. I don't like everything that goes on in your community, so I don't want to join you. Because, frankly, you could talk about how feminism just stands for equality, but if you look at a lot of the feminists out there, or at least a lot of people who are identifying as feminists, that's not what they believe. So I think that it's fair
so-
to say, oh, I don't want to be associated with those people. I don't want that label. And plus, I find the label of feminism to be exclusionary because it sounds like something that is focused strictly on women and not on both
So,
genders.
can I speak
So
on
we
that?
want something that's more egalitarian. That's what we like.
Exactly.
Right. So let me talk
Egalitarian.
about
So,
that.
Sure, go ahead.
Why I think-
I want to ask you a question. If I
Again,
identify,
Can I please respond to what TJ said?
All right, well, hold on. Jacyln will ask you a question. You can respond to both things.
no,
All right.
it's fine. I
No,
just
that's
want to
fair.
say,
All
like,
right.
I agree with what TJ said, and I want to add to that. If we don't identify with the term feminist, but agree with all the at least important components that go along with it, why do they give a shit whether or not we accept the title? Obviously, there are negative things that go along with it, but if we advocate for women's rights, and I've seen TJ do it, I've done it, what the fuck
Here,
is the
Jacqueline,
problem? Like,
can I respond to this with a question? Why do you think it's important for atheists to come out of the closet?
political reasons?
Same thing. Right?
But
Because
if
there's
I'm-
been
but if I'm advocating for-
much in the same way that atheists.
Ryan,
Hold on.
Ryan,
One at a time. One at a
Can I
time.
please at least get some time to respond?
One at a time. Ryan,
asked
you
me
go
to answer-
first. You go ahead. You got the floor. Go ahead.
So, much in the same way that atheism has been attacked for years and years and years, and certain groups have tried to take away certain rights, the term feminist has been attacked. Terms like feminazi, right? In fact, there are a number of books describing this phenomenon where for years and years and years, people have been attacked for this idea of being a feminist, much to the point that people no longer want to associate with the term because they think it's evil. I would hope that at least in some way, being an atheist, you would at least understand in some ways
Yeah, no, I do
why
get it.
certain.
I get it.
Right, so-
I get it completely. But I still find the term in and of itself totally and completely unnecessary. And I feel like
What if someone believes the
If-
term
if-
atheist is unnecessary?
if they were a
I-
secularist, if they were a secularist, I wouldn't give a shit. But that's
Right.
not
I mean,
the
because
case.
look, that the atheists.
know about that,
Look,
right? I
atheist.
don't know
But
about
the
that.
thing is that
So-
atheists. If you go to like a skeptic conference, there's people that identify as skeptics. There's people who identify as brights. There's people who identify as atheists.
Right, but
there's people who
they're
have
not the
all
same
these different
kind of-
identifications that are very similar, and they form a coalition together.
Here's
But
the
it's
thing we
like
don't have
when it's like I'm a feminist. Oh well, I'm a gender egalitarian. It's pretty much the same thing in a lot of ways. But for some reason, the feminists are just like, no, fuck you. If you're not a feminist, you're not with us. You're against us. And if you make any criticisms towards feminism or anything that any feminist, popular or otherwise, does, then you're a misogynist, you're a sexist, you're opposed to women's rights, so on and so forth.
Whenever I make videos encouraging people to come out as atheists, it's not necessarily that I
Yeah,
need
all
them
these
to
different
use the term atheist. It's not that. It's that I need them to be able to at least admit to other people that they don't need religion in their life, and that leads to political change. If they identified as a secular humanist or a skeptic or whatever makes them comfortable, I really wouldn't care.
That same notion within the movement. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't think we have. There's a reason why there's this push for this word atheist, right? Because it's been demonized for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Much as I said before, much in the same way that a lot of people believe
But
feminist
that's the
has
thing.
been
Like,
demonized.
there's not another way.
And there are a
to
lot.
identify yourself.
And there are a lot of people who say, "I'm not a feminist. I believe in all these things, except for these certain policies which are very misogynistic."
Mhm.
Right? I think that happens. I think there are people who say, "I'm not a feminist. I'm an egalitarian. Therefore, I believe in certain policies that are misogynistic." Like, I think it's certainly true.
Well, give us like I know that I'm probably called misogynistic. I'm called misogynistic constantly because I've made videos critical of feminism. But I mean, I've asked, how am I misogynistic? What have I done that's misogynistic? What have I advocated that's misogynistic? Now, I admit I've made some statements that are inappropriate, that were made from a very stupid place. But if you actually look at my positions, if you actually look at what I advocate, if you actually look at what I stand for, I've always been for gender equality. I've always been against sexist assholes. I've made several videos advocating for women's rights, advocating for things like Planned Parenthood and so on and so forth. And I think that it's strange that I'm constantly attacked by these feminists simply because I've made criticisms of some of the contentions that feminists make, which have nothing to do with equality. They have to do with things like they have the theory of the ever active and churning patriarchy that's out there. The old, this old system that's been debunked, that's been, not debunked, but it's been irrelevant. It's been obsolete for fucking generations almost. And yet they're still acting like it's in full force. It's in full swing. Women's rights are under siege constantly from all sides at all times. Yes.
I would just like to say that it's very unfair to try and characterize like fringe members of the group as the center. And
I don't think it is. I don't think it is the fringe because
I'm actually very good friends with several people who identify as feminists, and
I am as well.
Our conversations are very friendly, and we really don't disagree on anything. And they actually are able to understand my choice to identify as someone who advocates for gender equality instead of someone who labels himself as a feminist. They don't care as long as I support the same things and fight for equality, which I do, and they get it. Just the same, I don't care if I have a friend who doesn't believe in God, who calls himself a secular humanist instead of an atheist. It's semantics, it's unnecessary, and it doesn't matter.